Hello, we're back finally.
Hi.
We had some technical difficulties down at the precinct. The Wi-Fi just stopped working. We could hear you perfect. Well, we could hear you perfectly on YouTube once we left, but I don't know what happened.
Oh, that's too bad.
It
Well,
was not. It
you
was
got
all
to
right.
make things work, right?
Yeah. All right. Well, this is the first time we've ever properly spoken, just us two. So what is he? So you work at university, right?
I do. Yeah,
Do you
I
work
work.
in the city?
I do. We have a campus in the city as well as on Long Island. Yeah.
Nice. Well, I'm working here part time now. This
Oh,
actually Mirador came as a college placement, and it actually worked
yeah.
out really well. And Keith hired me on part time, and then when he's ready, full time.
Oh, wonderful. That's
So
fantastic. Good
I'm
for
the first
you.
because it sort of shut down during COVID. So I'm the first employee back officially.
That's great. Wow, that's wonderful news.
Yeah, so I've got to keep up with emails and stuff, and trying to get people on the show, like new people, guests.
Yeah, of
Uh,
course.
yeah, I'm enjoying it. I am. I like working for Keith. I get to meet a lot of interesting people.
Yeah, I'm sure he pretty much knows everybody, right?
Yeah, yeah,
That's terrific. Well, I think it's a great job to have. I mean, particularly if you're interested in journalism, you don't know where you'll go from here, right? So,
yeah. Well, not to university. That's the one place I'm out of education forever now, like formal
okay.
education. Uh, I went to college in Brighton
Oh,
at a
sure.
small college called DVA Sussex, and there was only 200 students in
Wow.
the whole campus. And on any one day, there would be no more than 40 students in the building at any one time.
Wow.
So it
What
was
was
very
that like?
personal. It was lovely.
Oh,
It was
good.
really nice. I mean, I'm used to one-to-one teaching because I have quite bad dyslexia. I'm basically illiterate. I can't
Oh,
read. But you wouldn't be able to tell by the way I speak. It's not a speaking issue. It's just a reading and writing.
uh-huh.
I just
Yeah.
can't. But yeah, it was lovely.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
great. Wow. Well, my daughter's starting college. She moves to the new university on August 24th. I can't believe it. Be a big shift to not have her at the house anymore, but we're
So
excited for her.
she's going off to university.
Yeah. Yeah, my oldest daughter. Yeah. Yeah. So I have
So
three kids.
our system's a little bit different. Our college is free,
Mm-hmm.
but I actually got paid to go. I get reimbursed for travel from college.
Wow.
Um, but what we call college is your high school.
Okay.
So high school is mandatory. It only changed like 3 years ago, but you legally have to stay in education until you're 18. You don't have a choice.
Mm-hmm.
But you do have a choice to go to university, which isn't free and extremely expensive.
Ah, I see.
So I didn't want to. I was like, I don't want to get in a bunch of debt when I could actually start working and learn things in the field.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Uh, I mean, I think already having worked here, I've learned a lot more than I would at a university. To be honest.
Yeah, it's definitely a different way of learning. That whole experiential learning thing is a great thing to have. A lot of
Yeah.
schools have both. So you'll go to school for 4 months and then you'll work for 4 months. You'll go to school for 4 months. You work for 4 months. I think that's a really good system too.
Hmm. So, how long have you been a university teacher, or are you a teacher?
I don't actually teach. Yeah, I may be teaching this semester, but normally I'm the vice president of real estate development and sustainable capital planning, and I'm the chief architect for all the campuses. So we actually have 4 campuses. So
Nice.
yeah, yeah.
What university is it?
It's called the New York Institute of Technology. So,
MIT.
no, not MIT. MIT is
Oh,
Massachusetts.
sorry, no,
NYIT. Yeah. So yeah, we're NYIT, but
NYIT. Okay.
MIT is somewhat maybe a little better known.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard of it. Yeah.
My dad went to MIT, but
You
yeah,
come
no,
from a long line of architects, don't you?
I do. My father's an architect, and my oldest brother is an architect. So my dad was the first architect of the family. So his dad was an engineer, though. So But yeah, so he's going to turn 90 in August, and he still paints and draws every day. So I saw him yesterday. He was starting a watercolor in the garden. So,
Well, I was actually surprised to find out how old Heath was. Do you know how old he is?
I don't know.
He's 82.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's
I
great.
thought he was, when I first met him, I thought he was maybe mid-70s.
Mm-hmm.
I was very surprised to find out he's going to be 83 this year.
Wow, that's wonderful. Yeah, well, it's
find that out.
important. It's important to keep on meeting people and keep on doing things. My dad walks every day and does a drawing every day wherever he is. He'll go to a park or he'll be in front of a building and do a drawing, and then he strikes up a conversation with people who come by to say, ask what he's doing, and so it's really good. It's really good to stay in the thick of things. So
I just met one of my neighbors for the first time. She's very nice. She's 86.
wow.
I've never met her before, but she came up to me. I was at the bus stop and she's like, "Oh, where are you going to?" I was like, "Oh, Sainsbury's." And she's like, "Oh, would you like a lift?" So I just got in this random woman's car. But she turned out to be very, very nice. She's 86 and she can still drive and still do everything. She's very, very healthy for her age.
That's great. That's so great. One of my buildings that I did at the beginning of my career was a building dedicated to the research for the quality of life of the aged. And so they work on Alzheimer's and Parkinson's and things like that. And when I think about it, I did that when I was, 25 or something. And I'm thinking, gosh, that's like a really good investment to start really doing that research and trying to make sure that people have good lives until, throughout their life, because so many people are so, they don't have the same kinds of abilities as they grow older, which is just really a bummer. You should have a wonderful life for your entire life on earth.
Yeah. I want to ask, how many kids do you have?
I have 3.
3. How old are they? Because one of them's my age.
Yeah, one of them is 17. She's the one going to university next year. And then my son is 16. So they're just 18 months apart. And then my youngest is 11.
Nice.
Yeah,
I've got a few siblings. If you include step siblings, I'm one of 10.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah, it is. Unfortunately, I haven't actually met all of them, which is a real shame. But it is what it is. But I've got a very close family. It's nice.
That's great.
But
wow, 1 in 10 kids. Yeah.
My mum only had 3.
Okay.
My dad got around.
I see. Okay.
So
well, I'm one of 4.
You're what?
I'm one of 4. So I have
One
2 older brothers and 1 younger sister. Yeah.
I know this is rude. It's really rude to ask, but what is your age?
What is my age? I'm young.
Yeah?
No, I'm 50. I'm 52.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Okay. I thought you were a similar age to my mum. Then my mum's 43.
Oh, thanks. I remember 43. 43 was a good year.
Well, I made a couple of people feel quite old the other day. It was very funny.
Yeah.
I think it was Stuart, one of the guys who works here, was talking about something that happened in 2010. And I said, I don't know. I don't remember that. I don't remember any of 2010. He goes, "What do you mean?" I'm like, "I don't remember 2010. I just don't." And he's like, "Why?" I'm like, 2010 was 12 years ago. He's like, "Yeah." I'm like, 12 years ago, I would have been 6. And he was like, "Oh, shut up." He was like, Why did you have to say that?" It was quite funny.
That was when my youngest was born, 2010.
Yeah?
Yeah, that was a good year. She's a terrific kid.
So,
she's very tall. She's my height, and she's 11. So
really?
She's 5'6", and she's 11 years old. She's like the tallest kid in the class. It's really funny, even with boys. I mean, she's like the tallest kid. But and my son plays basketball, so he's also very tall.
Is your husband tall?
He is. Yeah. He's 6'3".
Oh wow. Well, I'm 5'11", and I'm upset about it because I'm not 6 foot. I'm almost there. Maybe I'll be 6 foot, but I don't think so.
Yeah, guys grow until 21, I think, usually.
Yeah. Well, I've still got 3 years left.
Yeah, there you go. You see, you still chances. So make sure you hang, like do chin ups and things. Just kidding.
Yeah, I can't do a chin up. I'm too. I can't lift my own weight. Although
Those are
we're
hard.
actually we're doing a new Mirador show, which should be airing the 1st of next month, hopefully. A gym show.
Oh, cool.
Keith asked me if I wanted to do a gym show. I said, well, I can't exactly be the face of a fitness show. I mean, I'm not exactly the skinniest person. So I've now got a personal trainer, and the show is going to last hopefully about 6 months. And it's going to be a journey to see how much weight I can lose in those 6 months, and how healthy I can get. Because right now I'm quite big. I'm 18.5 stone right now.
Okay. All right.
Which is, I don't know how big that is in. What do you use? You use pounds, don't you?
Yeah, we use pounds. Yeah.
We use stones and kilograms.
Mm-hmm.
Although the UK is strange, it uses a hybrid of everything. So some people know stone and pounds. It's strange. Everyone uses something different here. We're the only country that doesn't use either, really, metric or imperial. We use a hybrid of the two, and it really is actually quite confusing. You're talking to people, and they'll have to be like, I don't know what that is.
That's funny. Well, I will say that any investment you can make in your health is a good investment. So,
yeah. So I've been trying to drink more healthy stuff because I was addicted to. I don't know if you have it in your country, but do you have Lucozade?
No.
Oh, that is the best drink in the world. I love it so much, but it's so sugary and so unhealthy.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm trying to drink more healthy things like milkshakes, not milkshakes, but like protein things. Just healthier options in general.
Yeah.
Which unfortunately I'm coming to find out is a lot more expensive.
That's true too. Yeah, no, soda is not expensive at all. And that's because it doesn't cost much money to make it.
No, it doesn't. And a lot of people buy it, so.
Yeah, we've never been really into soda in our family. My kids don't drink soda. But I think it's a good thing to try and get that out of your diet because it's just like it's one of those things like 50 calories, it's like it doesn't provide anything. So at least chips, you have some potatoes in there somewhere.
Yeah. Well, we always have American stalls in stores, and I quite like the American thing, Twinkies.
Oh yeah, those are good. Yeah,
those are good. But I looked at how much the calories were, and it's like 2,000 per one.
Really? Oh, I didn't know that.
It's like 1,500 to 2,000. I think it's more restricted in this country, but I know it can be upwards of 2,000 calories per Twinkie.
I had no idea. I haven't had those in a while.
Unbelievably unhealthy.
Yeah, that does not sound good.
No, but they are very nice.
I had no idea. I mean, I had those as kids, but I haven't, as a kid, I have not had a Twinkie in a while. So
no, I haven't had one in a couple of years.
Yeah, some of the American foods. I was watching this like quick clip on Instagram that listed things that Americans eat that other countries have like banned. It's really funny, like things that you wouldn't even.
Yeah, you know what's the weirdest one is in your country, Kinder eggs are banned.
Yes.
That's crazy to me.
Yeah, but they've been changed now because now they have 2 separate packages within the one egg. So like the candy's in one side of it and then the toy's in the other.
Because
they sell them.
The toy is still so it's sold separately.
Yeah, it's in one egg, and then it's like 2 compartments of one egg. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Because ours they just rattle around inside the Kinder egg.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly.
Because apparently kids can choke on them, which I suppose is true, but Kids can
Yeah.
eat anything. If there's a bit of Lego on the floor, you know. I mean, it seemed weird. I don't know. What sort of things are banned here? I don't know that you eat.
Oh, so the list was really funny. Like one of them was stovetop stuffing, and I was like, I wonder why stovetop stuffing is banned. It's I guess it's all it is bread and spices. So I don't
I
know.
love
Maybe
stuffing.
sugar. I know. Well, it's a specific brand of stuffing.
Oh, okay.
So and then Hostess Cupcakes. Have you ever seen those? They're like
No.
they're chocolate cake with cream inside, and then they have this like sort of fondant icing on the top. I'm not a big fan of them, but I guess they're supposed to be really bad for you too. I don't know. There was a couple of sodas that are like not even offered in other parts of the world. So, but I mean, there are a lot of people in the United States who drink Coca-Cola like constantly, you know.
Yeah.
And each of those is 150 calories, I think.
Yeah. Do you have fish and chip shops a lot?
Not as much as yours. Not as
No?
much as you have. Yeah. Yeah. We do have fish and chips though.
Every small village, every small town, everywhere has fish and chip shops. Doesn't matter if it's seafront or not. There's fish and chip shop everywhere. We recently had to ban, because we used to put them in old newspapers. Mm-hmm. So the papers at the end of the day would be the papers that weren't sold would be sent to the chip shops. They would wrap them up for the next day, the chips in the newspaper. We had to ban that because the ink was actually going into the chips and poisoning people. So, and we did that for like 50, 50 years, like
years and years, right? Years and years. Wow.
Yeah. Ever since newspapers were around and fish and chip shops have been around, they were doing that.
So now you specifically make paper that looks like newsprint.
Yes.
Yes, exactly.
But isn't. It's just plain paper. Have you come to this country? Have you come to England before?
I've only been to London once. Well, actually, that's not true. I went to England when I was going to school in Barcelona, and I was traveling to Ireland. And so I did spend some time in England, but it was more of a drive-through. But then about 3 years ago, I was in London, and then I went to a meeting in Brighton. So I know Brighton too.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I have to go through Brighton every day to get the bus.
It's a kind of a long trip then. How long does it take you to get to work?
2 hours each way.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I was thinking it's a long way.
I choose, because I have to go from my village, Cookfield, to Brighton to Lewis. It takes me 4 hours a day for work, so 2 hours each way. But getting the bus saves me £15 a day instead of getting the train. So that's why I get it. So £15 a day, that's
a lot of money.
Yeah, that's £45 a week, £90 every 2 weeks. I'm saving £180 a month by getting the bus. So
there you go.
It is what it is.
Good decision making.
Yeah.
But it is a long time. I guess what do you do during that time?
Listen to podcasts.
Listen to podcasts. That's a good idea.
And I've got a new computer, and all buses in this country have Wi-Fi for free. So I just do work.
Yeah.
On the laptop. Any editing that needs doing, emails that needs sorting out, I can just get done on the bus.
Oh, that's great.
And then I get home and then I can relax because I've already done everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, nice.
That is one way the commuting can help because I actually drive when I have to go out to the campus out in Long Island. I drive.
How far of a drive is it for you?
Well, it's only 22 miles, but sometimes it can take like an hour and a half. It really depends. Sometimes even 2 hours, but usually more like an hour. Hey, Keith, how you doing?
Struggling a bit, but back here is all uphill. And Lewis is the word "lose" is an Anglo-Saxon name for hill, and Lewis has got more hills than any other town in the United Kingdom.
Are you drinking water or are you drinking beer?
Oh, that's a naughty question. It actually is that the bar can't open for another half hour.
Oh, okay.
So I'm drinking water.
Okay.
I had a free beer yesterday. Actually, I got a free beer whilst filming for the boat race yesterday. Don't know who the guy was. He just gave me a free beer. He was dressed like Boris Johnson, so I mean, I had to trust him.
No, really, that was good thinking. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, he handed it to me whilst he was on the boat. It was Harvey's Brewery. Had a raft called Number 10 Drowning Street. And they had one of the beer taps connected to this little raft. And they were handing out free beers to people along the riverbank.
Oh,
so
that sounds like a fun day.
It was. Yeah. So that was funny.
Now, I'm not quite sure what you've been talking about while I've been labouring up the hill. You notice that the young man comes and does the easy stuff and says to me, "Oh, bring up the stuff. Bring up the stuff."
I took the bag. All you had to do was the trolley. It's all right.
Suzanne, let's catch up with your week, because that's the way that we always get a flavour of what you're about, but also what's happening in the States.
Yeah, no, last week was crazy. I did some really funny things. I had a dinner with some people that I met in a really funny way. I went to an event at the Metropolitan Museum one night, which was beautiful. And I met a friend beforehand at this very famous bar called the Mark. And while we were at the Mark, we met some people. And one of the gentlemen that we met owns this crazy hedge fund. So we all were talking and having a great time. And so then he said, we have to have dinner. So my friend and I ended up going to the Metropolitan, and we had a beautiful event. And they even had a reception in the Temple of Dender, which is this gorgeous space at the Metropolitan Museum. And and one of the female architects, the Metropolitan Museum is using a female architect for the first time to design one of their galleries. They've never used a woman architect. So that's a big deal. Her name is Frida Escobedo. She's from Mexico City. But anyway, we ended up going out to dinner with this couple that we met at the Mark. And so my husband went, and my friend and her husband went, and then this other couple. And so we spent like 4 hours drinking and eating very expensive food and talking about each other's lives. And so the woman that we were meeting with, when she was younger, she was a gymnast studying under the teacher, Bella Caroli. Do you remember him?
No, I can't say I have, but that doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, he taught Nadia Comaneci, and then he ended up coming to the United States, and then he trained like almost every major United States gymnast. Anyway, she ended up getting too tall, and then she went into ballet, and then she got recruited by the New York City Ballet. I mean, she had like quite a life. So that was an interesting dinner, I have to say. It was a nice evening, and just complete serendipity, because we didn't even know these people at all, and then we all ended up going out to dinner.
Oh yeah, sometimes those are smashing evenings. But what was the event at the Metropolitan Museum?
It was an event about this architect, because she was talking about how she looks differently at architecture from her counterparts, and she was a completely lovely architect. And talked about a lot of her work. Very young. I mean, I think she's not even really 40, or maybe just her very early 40s. And she has this huge commission at the Metropolitan Museum. So she talked about her work, her inspiration, why she designs the way she does, and then a little bit about what she's imagining for the Metropolitan. So it was a really nice event. And it was all women. Almost everybody there was a woman. So we all went to this beautiful space called the Temple of Dender, and had champagne. And I actually met another terrific lady that night too, who was born and raised in Milan. And she worked for the designer Emilio Pucci. Do you know who that is? He does these really gorgeous prints. Pretty famous fashion designer. And so she told this story. She thought she would be designing with him, and he ended up asking her to like clean bathrooms and stuff like that. And then so one day she just decided to storm into his office, and she's like, "I'm not doing this anymore." And he goes, "Okay, bye." It's very funny. And she's like, "Oh, she thought for sure he would keep." Anyway, the reason I found out that we even had a conversation was she was wearing this beautiful blouse, and it was actually a Pucci blouse. And I said, "Oh, I love your blouse." And she's like, "Oh, I used to work for this guy." It was very funny. Anyway, and I also met the head curator of the modern art collection at the Metropolitan, whom I had not met yet before. So that was a nice evening. So.
Yes. Now, how does this this architect lady friend or the lady you admire how does her architectural approach differ to other architects? I mean, how different to yours, for instance?
Well, she described her process. Her parents, she was raised in Mexico City. She's very close to her parents. Her father is a gynecologist, and then her mother was a social worker. And she talked about how there were always kind of people around, always serving others, always listening to others, kind of understanding what their issues were. And so she felt like she was raised in kind of a family of communication, and how important it is to gather and things like that. So the spaces that she was originally designing were all about that, just making sure that there were comfortable places for people to be, honoring, the past of Mexico City, because the architecture in Mexico City is already spectacular, And so she won a big commission when she was young. She started a company really young, which I did too. I started my first architecture firm when I was pretty young.
You're young now, so how young are you talking about?
I am young now, although Max made me tell everybody how old I am. So now everybody knows. I can't even pretend anymore. Yeah, so her work is really kind of drenched in kind of the history of Mexico. A lot of influence of color, a lot of influence of light, a lot of influence of materials that are about her culture, and what she plans to bring to the Metropolitan, because she also is very committed to artwork and having art being part of her work. And so it's kind of wonderful that she got this project to do. And
now, if you work as an architect and you work for the Metropolitan, and you've got a different viewpoint to other architects, how do you go about fulfilling the commission that you've been given?
Yeah, it's complicated. The city, the United States is pretty young compared to other countries, but there's still a lot of, commitment to traditional forms of architecture. And it's a battle, particularly when I don't know when she's going to start doing her presentations to the Landmarks Preservation Commission,
Oh. I'm not who I was expecting.
We're talking to New York. If you want to talk to New York, do come in.
It's nobody at reception.
They're around. We've seen them.
Yeah.
A lady looking for reception. They've disappeared for the moment.
Okay. Oh, I see. I gotcha. Well, I'm happy to help. I don't know if I could help her.
I don't think it's your reception that they're looking for. And that's the beauty of this sort of television and broadcasting from where we do broadcast from, is that people pop in and out just doing ordinary things. Is where is reception?
Yeah,
and
that's wonderful.
I was going to try and tempt her to come on, but she zipped out again too fast. Okay, now I'm so fascinated by her approach to her work with the Metropolitan Museum. I understand 3/4 of what you talked about, but I still think there's a little something that people like me and people not as close to architecture would still find we would like to know more. So can you just carry on and fill out the description you've given so far?
Yeah. So when she finally develops kind of an initial conceptual design, that will be unveiled. And then because the building is on the not on the National Register, but it's a landmark building, she's going to have to present to the Landmarks Preservation Commission, and then also all the community groups. I don't know if the Metropolitan Museum is right on Fifth Avenue along Museum Mile, which is a bunch of our older, kind of more traditional buildings. So I would imagine she's not designing something that is in that line of architecture. So she'll have to, defend her decisions and her recommendations and talk about, I would imagine she would be talking about how important it is to design for the moment and not design for the past or the future, so you kind of have to represent.
Why is it important to design for the moment and not for the past or the future?
Well, because architecture is supposed to be representative of the time that we're in. It's supposed to represent humanity. So when you're designing something that looks like it's older or something that looks like it's kind of anticipating the future, sometimes it's a little less relevant, for the current time. So, and of course, you're always designing for a building to be here for another 100 years. I mean, you don't want to design something that's not able to make it to the future, but you just want to make sure that you're sort of working on something that makes sense for people now and addresses their issues now and makes them excited about being there and loving being there, loving being with people and things like that. So I think.
I'm fascinated that you got involved in something so challenging while sipping a martini.
Yes, I know. Exactly. Yeah, always. Actually, it was a glass of Prosecco.
A good argument for being a barfly.
Yes. No, exactly. And it's funny. I was sitting there and the two women I was with, Juliet and Kimberly, we were chatting away. And then there was like a moment of silence. And I noticed that there was kind of like a shadow, kind of passing by us. And I was like, that's weird. A shadow in a, a dark bar. It's like, how does that even happen? It turns out it was LeBron James walking behind me, the famous basketball player. And he's just so tall that he actually left a shadow, indoors. So
there's no way you could trap the shadow.
No, it was he blocked any light that happened to be in the space, basically.
A fleeting moment. Well, that only takes us to midweek. So carry on with your week.
So then I did. What else did I do? An event with. Let's see. Oh yeah, I went to another event. I don't normally go to this many events at night, but I went to an event that was also pretty cool. There was this gentleman who wrote a book about what to do after you're an athlete. So, you have a career in sports. What do you do once that career is over? Because, oftentimes they're still very young and sometimes they have money so they can kind of invest. And so I went to this event. A friend of mine invited me. So my husband actually went to that one with me too. My husband doesn't normally go to my work events. So, and then we're standing there just talking, and these two people come over to us, and they couldn't have been nicer. It was a mom and a daughter, and she was there because her brother wrote a book called something like Staying Positive or something. Let me see if I have the name of her book. But so we were chatting away, and then it turns out that they are both from Buffalo, and my husband grew up in Buffalo, New York. So we're just talking and chatting. We had the best time. And she was a stewardess or a flight attendant. Stewardess isn't the right word to use anymore. And was telling us about all of her different trips. And her daughter is a fitness trainer. So she was telling us all about her stuff. And so that was a really fun night. And we met a bunch of people, a lot of athletes who were, kind of looking for their second career. And then her brother was a basketball coach for, I think, West Virginia, which is a big university. So that was a really fun thing too. And they were also serving scotch at that event. And I didn't have any because scotch kills me. I don't know how you guys drink. Do you guys drink scotch?
I can't drink scotch.
I drink whiskey, yeah.
You drink whiskey. Okay.
Yeah. My wife banned me from drinking scotch many years ago, because it changes my personality. It's the only drink that makes me aggressive. The rest of the time, I'm the happiest drunk in the world. I slump in a corner with a great big grin on my face, and anybody can tread over me or say anything to me, and I don't take offense. Give me scotch, and I'm ready to take on the world.
Wow. I don't know. You should have some studies done. That sounds to me like we should put in a research paper, a request for funding to study why scotch has that effect on you.
Yeah. Strangely enough, I think there is actually something in that sort of effect because I'm not the only one.
Yeah.
I had several friends in Vancouver who had the same incidents of where they drank scotch. It changed their personality and temperament. And I've had people over here admit that it does them as well. So I think that there is a basis for some sort of research to be done. Is what has scotch got that other drinks haven't that changes some people's personalities?
Yeah, I think I will definitely write that paper immediately. I'll write an abstract, and we'll see if we can get funding for that.
Well,
I'm sure we'll have a lot of people who want to be part of that study.
I want to be part of the study straight away.
I don't think we'll have any problems getting human subjects for that one.
The thing is, that is, I mean, I really did observe her demand that I didn't touch scotch. So it's a long time since I've become aggressive with drink. But when I did, anybody could have pushed me and I would have fallen over. It's totally false courage.
Yeah, exactly. It's not like you actually got stronger. It wasn't like spinach for Popeye, it was just
no, absolutely not.
This mental strength. That's really funny.
Now we got a really exciting week so far, and we still only reached Thursday. So
yeah.
Then what comes?
Well, then I also did. The university has never had a plan for sustainability. So I've started developing this, what we're calling the Sustainability Action Plan. And, in higher education, they like to have committees and things. So I've asked the dean of the architecture school and the dean of the engineering school to work on this with me. So we had a meeting this week and it just went really well. They were excited about it. I developed the draft, a lot of the things we've already started working on at the university. So it's not something that we're forcing on anyone. It's more just kind of making it a written document and then hopefully someday making it kind of our vision for the university. So that was really terrific. And they were both so supportive, which was nice because sometimes, it's hard to get that kind of support when you want to try to do something. So that was really, really exciting. And beginning to kind of figure out what will be the vision for 2030 and 2040 for the university. And hopefully it'll become a model for our neighboring kind of institutions to try and figure out how we can make sure that we have a university, in 50 years as well, which is
I mean, is that what you mean by sustainability, is how to sustain the university through a period of time, doing whatever it is that you're doing?
Yeah, I mean, sustainability in this sense refers to kind of more of an environment and energy kind of philosophy that will apply to the university. So it includes using alternative energies and researching, developing some plan around water scarcity, developing some solutions about power resiliency, and then, trying to figure out ways of making sure that everyone is constantly part of the process. So what kinds of grassroots efforts can you do? Can the students be in charge of the bike program so they are kind of constantly facing the decision, do I get in my car and drive to my next class, or do I actually just take the bike instead while I'm on campus? All of those little decision points, it's important to have kind of a whole array of ways of dealing with climate change and energy approaches. So we're doing a geothermal test well soon. So we want to kind of make sure everybody's part of our effort. So.
And how do you determine whether, in fact, you've got it right?
Well, my colleagues were thinking that we should set some goals and then just continually kind of test whether or not we're meeting them. New York State has pretty ambitious goals for 2030 and 2040. I mean, 2030 is not that far away. It's like now it's only 8 years. And so not every institution is responsible to meet all of those really ambitious goals, but by 2040, they want to have 100% carbon-free electricity in New York State. So the way to, by 2040, yeah.
Oh, 40. That's going to be
still
difficult.
ambitious. Yeah. For New York State, yeah.
For the whole state or the city?
The whole state.
What?
I mean, most of our, I shouldn't say it, 60% of our population is in New York City of the state, but it's a big state, but most of the population's in the core of the urban areas. So it's really ambitious goals. And how do you get there? I mean, right now we're thinking a combination of solar power as well as this geothermal test wells will hopefully prove our initial studies that we can really heat and cool the entire university with very few wells. So it'll be interesting. So it's good stuff. And then
Absolutely.
What else am I doing? Oh, and then I got great news. One of my photographs that I took of a group of, I don't know if you ever heard, I went to school in Buffalo, and in Buffalo, they have grain silos right by Lake Erie. And those silos are now, most of them are abandoned. And so I've gone on a bunch of different kind of photo trips. And one of my photographs was selected for the book that they plan to publish, and then eventually do an exhibit on the photograph. So I was pretty excited about that. So.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, if here am I, who slumped at a bar all week, and then I talk to you on a Monday morning, and look at what you've achieved, and all I did was I emptied a couple of glasses.
Well, I did that too. Although, did I tell you I think I told you last time, I started drinking zero alcohol beer. Did I tell you that? It's so good. I had a couple this weekend.
How are you making out with that beer?
Well, this is my theory. The reason that it works on me and the reason I enjoy drinking it is because I've been a drinker longer than I haven't been. So my brain thinks as soon as I'm drinking a beer that it's got to have alcohol in it. So so I think that's why it works on me. But I don't know, it tastes good and it's like a lot less calories. And anyway.
Very quickly, the zero alcohol beer is very interesting because perhaps 15 years ago or 20 years ago, when we saw this sort of product starting to come into pubs, is if you ordered one of those, there would be a lot of joshing and jeering and hey, well, what's that? I mean, good natured, but nonetheless trying to make you feel an idiot for taking the zero beer. And in fact, there was only probably one brand, and it tasted filthy. It was awful. I mean, it didn't taste like beer at all. Now you can get almost any brand with 0 or 0.001% alcohol content. It's become totally acceptable.
Exactly. And it tastes really good.
Most of it does now, yeah.
So I think, you got to try one. We should have a taste test. Maybe.
Absolutely. Now, there's lots of good ideas. I'm going to have to go back through the tapes and listen to some of your ideas because you promised me that you're going to turn up with them the next week, and you don't. And I can't remember them. But all I know is that we've had some terrific ideas which we've got to implement.
Absolutely. So I heard that you're taking a break for 2 weeks. Is that right?
Yes, we are.
Okay.
Not next week, but the week after, we're going to.
No, but it's next week. It's the first day.
Yes.
Next week is the week we're going off, and the week after we've got another week off.
No, next week we're here, and it's the or is it? Sorry,
no, it's the first and the last week we're and the 2 middle weeks we're off.
Right. Okay.
So it's from the 7th to the 22nd.
Right. It's next week then. He has to keep me in order.
Yeah.
I have no idea. I say one thing and he says the other, and it doesn't matter what I say. He does whatever he wants to. So I guess we're off for those 2 weeks. Yes. But for two reasons. Number one, we started this experiment in April, and it's developed very nicely where it is working. We get a lot of good comments. We're getting a lot of a good reaction to what we're doing. But it does need formalizing a little bit, and it needs a little bit of work on it. So we got 2 weeks in which we can pause. But also, much like the United States, is people's patterns, work patterns and life patterns change for holidays, which traditionally here are in August. Now, we don't really have the resources to change with them. So we'll be missed less during those 2 weeks than we will the rest of the year. So we've opted to take those 2 weeks and catch our breath, as it were. Now, when are you away?
I'm going away from the 10th to the 19th. So it's perfect timing. It's exactly when you're going to be on vacation. Yeah. So.
Yeah. I mean, I took a pasting last week because you weren't here. I said, well,
I'm sorry.
she is poorly. And they said, yes, it's probably because you drive her. Get her up at 4 o'clock in the morning and push her. I took real stick because you weren't here last week.
I know. I apologize for that. I know that is not good form, but I really wasn't. I was not feeling well, and I could not even imagine waking up at 3:30. But it's funny. I have a really good friend of mine was born in London. Actually, not London. He was born outside of London, and then ended up, doing very well. He's an engineer, and then he worked in Poland for many years. Anyway. I sent him the link to this and he was laughing. He's like, I think the English are just surprised that it's so early in the morning and you're happy. He's like, nobody's like that. I thought it was really funny. Anyway, he really liked the show. So he'll spread the word.
That's great. I actually did send a link to a couple of people who I thought might be interesting. And I haven't heard back from them, and they're both in sort of slightly dicey areas of the world. One is a friend of mine in Kosovo, because there was a great deal of fuss about Kosovo 20 years ago. It's getting democracy, coming out of the war, and so on and so forth. And now, of course, it's got a stateship. It's a country, and everybody's forgotten about it. And I thought it would be nice to catch up. It's one of my favorite countries. And the other is a very prominent media man. He's more than a journalist. He organizes training and a school and so on in Nigeria. And I've invited him on. Now, I think it's probably that, they just haven't checked their emails recently, but I will try to get them on. And I will try to get one of them at least on a Monday, because talking to you, I think, would be very exciting for them. And also, I like the idea of linking New York to somewhere like Kosovo or Abuja or wherever.
That'd be amazing.
So that's something that we've got in mind.
That would be great. I have a really good friend who lives in Sevilla. And he's from Prague. He was born and raised in Prague. He actually lived in Vancouver for a while too, but he now lives in Sevilla, and he designs museums and does all this great work. So he was recently in Turkey. He's finished a design for a museum in Turkey. And then he also designed the Saudi pavilion for the World Expo that was in Dubai in 2020. Anyway, he would be great to have on this. I mean, he's hilarious and has such an interesting view of the world,
You must feel free to invite anybody that you wish, either on a Monday or any other day of the week, because where we've got interesting people, it doesn't matter what we're doing, we always make room for them. It is this potpourri, not least of which is a number of people have said is that they tune in because they never know what the hell we're going to be doing next. So yes, please, any interesting people to get on the show. I mean, to be quite honest, Suzanne, and to be serious for a moment, is there is no other television program in the world like ours. It may be small at the moment, but more and more people are finding it, and more people are saying, "God, yeah, this is exactly the sort of thing that we like because it's so different." So that the more different we can make it, the better.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think I don't know if I told you, but one day, actually, I don't know if I told you this story. When I was in high school, one of my best friends, her dad was a producer of NBC.
I don't know that.
Oops, that was another voice. Was a producer of NBC Nightly News, and he told us that we could pick whatever guest we wanted to meet, and he would arrange that we go and meet the guest. And so we picked Tom Cruise. And so she and I got all dressed up to meet Tom Cruise. I still remember, it was so funny. And he was going to see, I think it was called Live at 5. And Live at 5 shares a corridor with the David Letterman show, or shared, I should say. I don't think they even have either show anymore. But so she and I were waiting outside, and then Tom Cruise comes down, and he's like, "Hi, my name is Tom." like we didn't know, We're like, "Oh, I'm Suzanne, and this is my friend Courtney." And then he goes, "Well, I have to do the show now. Will you girls wait for me?" And we're like, "Oh," like thinking, "Yeah, what else do we have to do?" It's like, we're like, "Yeah, no, that would be great." Anyway, so he went into the studio, and then we were across from the David Letterman show, and John Candy was the guest on the David Letterman show. Do you remember him? He was like this huge,
indeed, yeah.
Yeah. So he came out with David Letterman, and John Candy was like, "I didn't think that fans were allowed in the building." And David Letterman's like, "They're not here to see you. They're here to see Tom Cruise." And he's like, "I don't believe it." He goes, "I think they're here to see." Anyway, it was really funny. We're having like the greatest time. Then we find out Tom Cruise sent his assistant to say that he couldn't meet us, and he sends his regrets because he had to leave through another door because of there were so many fans. This was like I think it was right after Risky Business or something. Anyway, we went there a lot to see her dad at work, and it was really cool and fun. So then I went to an event, and I ended up meeting Tom Brokaw because my friend's dad was the producer of his show. So when I met Tom Brokaw, I said, "Oh, I met you when I was really young." I said, "You may not remember." And I told him about my friend's dad, who actually had recently passed away. And he's like, "Oh, he was such an amazing news guy." He's like, "That guy knew what people wanted to see." It was a very nice thing to say. But then we started talking about local news versus this worldwide news. And he said, "The world is about local news." I think this was only a couple of years ago. He said, he goes, "Mark my words." He said, "What's going to happen is people are going to stop watching this stuff that supposedly is covering the world. They're going to start watching local news because that's what really matters to people." So that was a very long story to just explain that little piece.
But actually, I'm glad you told it, because the experts now are beginning to mouth the same philosophy. That's why I'm so pleased that we're doing what we are. I mean, it may mean that we lose our uniqueness and we'll be swamped in this country and the world with programs like this. But for the moment, we are the only one. And I'm delighted that it's working the way it is. So we get somebody such as you from New York. We occasionally get a VIP from somewhere in the world. And we get the person that's just walked in through the front door of the White Hart Hotel to get a cup of coffee.
Speaking of, who is coming on in a few weeks? Who's the guy who Stuart invited from the band? I've forgotten his name.
I'm not sure.
Band member. I can't remember the band name either. I feel bad. I have to message him.
Is it Eddie Vedder? Are you having Pearl Jam on? Is it Eddie Vedder?
No.
Yeah, you arranged this, so I'm actually a little bit in the dark on it.
Well, I didn't know.
They go behind my back and arrange all sorts of things, and then they say, "Well, Keith, you keep on talking about unexpected," and I I never
Well,
know what I'm going to post.
you're fulfilling a real need, Keith. This idea is going to catch on because it's what people want. You know, people want to just hear about just fun stories and about life and about how, I don't know, how people are really connected in ways that maybe people don't acknowledge right now, you know?
Absolutely. I mean, your weekly stories of what you get up to are fascinating, and give an insight into the sort of life that is led in New York. I mean, I thought that cocktail parties and cocktail lounges had gone out of favor, but here you are. Not only do you go to them, but they're always packed, and they're packed with celebrities.
Yeah, exactly. They are packed with celebrities. I am always hobnobbing with, you know, the
Don't blame you. Don't blame
intelligentsia.
you. Right. Now we've
What
got,
was it? Hang on. What was it you mentioned earlier about you coming to coming to London or coming to
Yeah,
England?
I'm going to London. Right now I think I'm going to be in London on September 20th for the design show in London.
Right.
And then I'm going to Italy after that. Italy, I'm going for a seminar about stone, and that'll be exciting. And I'll get to see Venice again. It's been too long.
A seminar about stone, did you
Yes,
say?
stone, natural stone. Yeah.
Sounds interesting. Yeah.
Hopefully go to quarries. Usually go to quarries and see new machinery and new treatments for stone and things like that. So yeah, no, it's a great show. People are from around the world. And it's been interesting too, because a lot of our focus now is reuse and recycling, and even of building products to kind of reduce the use of new embodied carbon. So stone in many cases can just be recut and reshaped and reused. So it's a really terrific material to use, particularly now. So it's good.
yes, it seems to me that many years ago, when I did take holidays, I was in northern Italy, and the area that we were in were famous for their marble quarries, and these went back to Roman times, when they were first started, and you could actually get the most magnificent statues and not large ones, just tiny little things done in marble, and it was still a big industry. Now,
Yeah.
I don't know quite where you're going. Where did you say you would be looking at marble?
So the conference is in Verona.
Right.
So you were probably in Carrara. Were you in Carrara? That's probably where you
I
were.
just don't remember so many years ago.
Yeah, those are amazing quarries, beautiful, stunning quarries of white, glistening marble that you see. Yeah. But the show is in Verona. What? I'm sorry.
Yeah, that would be it. I'm pretty sure, because they are stunning. You're quite right.
Yeah. You can't believe they exist.
Before you take us through till Friday, I'm going to give Max an opportunity, because he's been champing at the bit to have a little chat to you. Go on.
Well, how long are you going to be in the UK for?
I don't know. Probably, maybe just a day. It depends on whether or not I can connect it to the trip to Italy, and maybe I just go straight to Italy from there. But I might be going to London literally for just like a day.
Okay, because I was wondering if you could, if you wanted to come on the show in person, if you were able to do that.
No, that would be great. I'll definitely see if I can make it happen for sure. I think that would be terrific.
In other words, he's saying, don't spend your day in London, hop on the train and come down to Lewis.
Well,
London, maybe I'll come a day early or something. I don't even know when the 20th is, what day of the week it is. Let's see.
I'll have a look on the calendar. But I haven't actually been to London in almost 3 years now.
Really? And you're so close.
Yeah, well, it's because I absolutely hate London. I really do. I don't like cities at all. I love growing up in like rural village life. To the behind me, it's just farms. To the left of me, it's a reservoir, and on the other side, it's a forest.
Wow, well, that sounds
beautiful. Front, you've got like a nice. We got a small village. It's only 3,000 people who live there.
So my friend, our common friend, Keith, Mark, was telling me, I love the movie Holiday with Cameron Diaz and Kate Winslet. Do you know that movie? It's based, part of it is based in in England. And from what he told me, the house that they have in that movie is actually not too far from Lewis.
Ah.
Yeah.
When
It's a super adorable cottage. I don't know when it was filmed. I think it was filmed. Let's see. I'll check. But it's a really cute movie.
Near me. That might be near me because there's a house that's always being used for filming. And it's actually where they filmed some of Only Fools and Horses and The Crown. They filmed some clips there. There's a house like literally a couple streets away that they use for filming. So it could be one near me.
Maybe. It's an adorable cottage. And Cameron Diaz fell in love with Jude Law there. So not that you really need, I think you'd fall in love with him in a refrigerator, but.
What did you say? What day did you say you would be here?
September 20th.
That's a Tuesday.
That's a Tuesday. So maybe I can come on the 19th.
That'd be great.
2006, that's my Monday.
Stay in the White Hart Hotel.
There you go. Maybe that's what will happen.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be fantastic?
Actually, the strange thing is that if you actually flew into Gatwick as opposed to Heathrow, you're equidistant between London and Lewis.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, maybe we can make it happen.
Yeah, you'd be able to get a direct train pretty much.
Yeah. There we are. We're organising so much on this program. It's all we've got to do now is to remember what we've said.
Yeah,
and then put it into practice.
On the train down here, you would probably pass by my little village.
All right. Well, that would be lovely to see. That would be so nice. Well, I do have to get ready to go to work. It's getting time.
Oh dear.
Yeah.
Just when you're getting interesting.
Oh, I'm sorry. I know it's always, well, you know what they say? They say always leave on a high note. So.
Oh, absolutely. Yes. and in some ways, now, just very quickly, because we haven't touched Friday, give us Friday, what you did last Friday, and hopefully it's leaving the best wine till last.
So Friday, I went to the beach, drove out to the beach. It was beautiful after I finished all my work. And then, and that was about it. We went swimming. I've been going swimming because a friend of mine told me, Suzanne, don't do something, don't not do something just because it's inconvenient. Or she's like, if you love to do it, just do it. So I said, I love swimming. So I've been going in the ocean like every day since my friend said that to me. So anyway.
That's terrific.
Yeah,
wonderful.
It was beautiful. So
I think we're going to rename this program on a Monday as Life According to Suzanne.
Okay. All right. Hopefully it's a good way of living. I think it is.
And I think also quite seriously is the comment about really television is television news is really becoming about what's happening locally because I've always taken the view, even when I was a young spud and a bit swimming against the stream, is that local news is worldwide. What happens in New York is of interest to somebody in Auckland in New Zealand, and so on and so forth. So your vignettes and what you do in a week is interesting to a whole generation and a whole congregation of people around the world. So keep it up.
I will keep it up. And it's so great to see you both. And I won't see you next week, right? So, but we'll keep in touch.
Or the week after, but after that, we'll be back with a bang.
Okay, that's right. I'll have photos of beautiful sunsets from Florida.
Oh, great.
All right. Okay, take care. Thank you.
Great. Bye, Suzanne. Bye. Right. Let's go to the potter's wheel for a minute just to catch our breath.
Where's that? Is that in the share file?
It's here.
Oh, the potter's wheel.
Yeah. There we go.
Right? The part.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, Suzanne Mucho, I mean, I don't know how old Suzanne is, but boy, is she vital.
She's 52.
She is here and everywhere. 52, is she? Well, there you go. Is at 52, zip zapping across the United States and around the world, and doing very interesting things, and getting involved in the development of our society at a fairly senior level, and helping to take things forward, and looking at new and exciting avenues. All right, young man, what's on the inside of the papers this morning that's caught your eye?
So we have here from Liz Truss, we'll free our farmers of red tape, which I love to hear, but I'm sure it is just politicians saying things that the general public want to hear and will never actually do. It could just be that, most likely. But if not, I would love to see that. Have you been seeing what's going on in the Netherlands with the farmers?
Not recently, no.
They're blocking the motorways
yes.
with their tractors because the government want to take their land and redistribute it, because farming is a very carbon emitting industry, don't you know?
Oh.
It's very bad for the environment. So we need to stop the farms.
Oh.
How are we going to eat?
Us.
How are we going to eat?
Yeah.
It's so stupid. But it's good to see our government is saying the opposite, or potential prime minister. I'm hoping, at least.
I have lost tape. Lost track of. At one time, they were called monster foods. In other words, genetically tampered with
genetically
foods.
modified.
Yeah. Do you know, as a young man and keeping an eye on this sort of thing, which your generation that's going to eat it, where we stand on genetically modified foods?
We still use it. Most of our stuff is genetically modified, even the animals now. And we're putting fertilizers on the crops in the fields that are going into the river stream, and they're turning the frogs gay. Serious? Well, not gay, but they're changing the frogs into hermaphrodites from the dangerous chemicals.
Goodness.
So the frogs go from male to female or female to male. So.
Good heavens.
That's weird.
Side effect, yes.
Yeah, there's the chemicals in the water.
Yeah. But at one time, I mean, there was groups who would demonstrate over our dead bodies, will this happen? And it looks as if it was just fashionable and that we've moved on. And nobody is dying from these foods, presumably.
Not people yet. I'll say yet. Because if it's killing, animals in the wild, then what's it really doing to us? It can't be that good for us.
No, presumably not.
Presumably, yeah.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it has never bothered me really, but I know that it was a big issue, and you still pay a premium for organic foods in supermarkets, but now there isn't the big fuss about it that there used to be. They sit side by side with presumably genetically engineered foods, and so it doesn't seem that one or the other is. You
just sort of got old news, kind of like COVID did, I suppose.
Yeah, right.
Everyone got sort of sick of it and just went, I don't care.
Right. Okay. Well, now, just before you turn away from Liz Truss and the cutting red tape for farmers, my cry would be cut red tape for all small business.
Yeah.
We are stretched as far as human resources are concerned, and nobody wants to come and get involved in trying to look after the administration side of this thing. So we have to do it ourselves. First of all, I don't like it. B, a lot of it is irrelevant to us as small businesses, but we have to do it anyway. And thirdly, the punishment for not complying is punitive, and could easily put small businesses out of business. And it really needs very seriously looking at. So if she's going to do it for the farmers and red tape, it might be a good idea to do it just for SMEs, small to medium enterprises. And the importance of that is, believe it or not, I knew the figures for Europe on the economy and how a small to medium enterprise is made up, and it was 80% plus of the economy is small SMEs. In Britain, because I had to find the similar thing just a little while ago, perhaps a month or two ago, is we are in 90% of SMEs, and yet all our legislation is geared towards making life difficult. Now, if you really want to undermine the economy and weaken it, there's nothing like slowing down the very pulse, the very engine room of our economic activity and economic development than making it subject to the red tape, which is for those companies that have got an army of people to look after it. So there we are. That's my plea.
Yeah. That's a good plea. Let me have here the supermarket sweep. They have here lots of different brands, comparing them to off brands of food to see how much the difference in cost is. I'm trying to explain it to you. So it's here. So for example, you got Heinz ketchup here, and then the basic version. You know, a lot of these things, they're not all that different. I mean, they've got things like comparing pasta here. I mean, pasta is pasta. You just go for the cheap one. And I was just looking through. You can really save a whole lot of money just by buying off-brand stuff. Like, quite a bit.
But give us a couple of examples.
I haven't gone through this properly. Oh, it also shows the difference in prices between all the stores. So, for example, Kellogg's cornflakes in Waitrose, it cost £1. Sainsbury's, 85p. Tesco's, 60p. Morrison, surprisingly, also £1. And then Asda, 50p.
Right, so you can get what Kellogg's cornflakes for 50p in Asda.
Yeah, whereas Waitrose is £1.
But actually, I shop at Waitrose when I shop because it's convenient for me as my mobility decreases. So I have to go to the closest places that I can. And I haven't seen anything anymore on the shelves in Waitrose that is less than £1.25. Now, they used to, there would be £1 standard. I think they call it something like essential Waitrose or something of the sort. In other words, we understand that you're looking for cheap goods, the cheapest that we can offer, and this is essential Waitrose, etc., etc. And I haven't noticed any Kellogg's cornflakes, or for that matter, any cornflakes that only cost £1. So where this research was taken, I have no idea, and I wonder whether, in fact, it's in date. If, in fact, I will look again the next time I'm in, now that I know the sort of prices that are being quoted in the newspaper. But I think that may be a bit erroneous. I think that some of this stuff is rather more expensive than it's being made out here. But give us another example.
Okay, so bread. In Waitrose, regular Hovis soft white bread costs £1.10p. In Morrison's, it's 79p. And in Sainsbury's, Tesco's, and Asda, they're all 70p.
Right.
I think what we're going to find out here is Waitrose is surprisingly the most expensive place.
Well, not surprisingly, it's always been considered to be a posh store.
I know, I was being sarcastic.
Tongue in cheek, was that?
Yeah.
Yes, right.
Lidl's is where we shop because it's the cheapest.
Well, I actually, when I can get to Aldi, but much the same.
Where's the nearest Aldi? That's in Brighton, isn't it?
No, there's one here in Lewis.
Oh, is it?
Yes, it's down. As a matter of fact, you were standing outside it yesterday when we were doing the raft race. It's just that it's behind a bunch of hedges.
Oh, yes, I do know where it is.
Yeah. But my wife, my late wife, when she first introduced me to shopping introduced me to do the shopping. But she was becoming ill by that time, so I did the shopping. And she said, if you go to Aldi, you'll find that you're 25 to 35% cheaper in the overall bill than you are if you go to Waitrose. And she was absolutely right.
And that 25%, that's a lot of money, actually.
Yes, and the quality is. I've never had to argue with the quality of those stores. The only thing I would say is that they do play little tricks on you. For instance, they will hook you onto some product or other, and they'll run it for say 6 months, and you get used to buying it, and then they suddenly run out, and they don't replace it. And then just a month later, they replace it with a more expensive item.
Yes,
that's a bit of a naughty trick. Yeah,
Lidl's do the exact same.
Yeah. So do be careful. Is nobody, whether it's Aldi or Lidl or whatever, has got you at heart. It's always the top line or the bottom line or whichever it's called. In other words, the profit factor remains the driver.
Well, that's partial of supermarket sweep. There's a hell of a lot to go through here, so I won't go through all of it.
Okay.
Basically, what you need to know is just shop at Lidl's or Aldi. It's way cheaper, and you'll save a whole lot of money.
Right. What else have you dug out?
So, Prince Charles. Will Prince Charles be probed over £1 million he received from bin Laden's family? That's Osama bin Laden. He accepted £1 million from Bakr bin Laden, the brother of Osama bin Laden. Like, that seems a little bit strange to
me. It does. I mean, I think the Charities Commission are taking a close look at this now that I think it was a Times instituted story, was it not? I think that story came from the Times newspaper that he had received this money and taken it. They were defending it yesterday on the basis that his entire charity, not just Charles, looked at this very carefully and decided whether it was ethical they should take it. So they're saying it wasn't just Charles himself who agreed it, but he's one of the trustees, and therefore he has to be held responsible the same as anybody else if there is any wrongdoing. By the same token, I do think we have to be very careful here with these sort of things. It's very easy to take a story of this sort and use it to knock the royals, when in fact it is perhaps something that can be revised and reviewed, but it's not the wrongdoing that is suggested from the headlines. So none of this money went to Charles himself. It went to his charities.
I'm sure those charities are 100% legitimate, and he doesn't get any of the salary from them. I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm sure he doesn't.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
Anything else?
Another thing about Osama bin Laden. Have you ever seen Osama bin Laden's niece speak out? Well, Osama bin Laden's niece is pro-Trump. Seriously.
Right.
She's a Trump supporter.
Right.
Which is hilarious to me. I don't know why. I haven't listened to anything from her because, she's the niece of Osama bin Laden.
Let's actually remind people who Osama bin Laden was, because these people pass out of.
Everyone knows who Osama bin Laden is. Everyone knows who.
Well, now you be very careful about talking about everybody. It's amazing how a generation comes along, and because it's not talked about and so on, as it disappears out of people's psyche. For instance, it is interesting that you are totally interested in when Stuart talks about the Vietnam War, and yet you weren't aware of the Vietnam War really until you started to talk to.
Well, I was aware of it. I wasn't alive during it. Yeah.
Things slip out of people's memories very, very quickly. So Osama bin Laden was, to all intents and purposes, a terrorist leader. in the
Osama
Middle
bin
East.
Laden, he was the one who orchestrated the planes flying into the
Into
towers.
yes, right, the Twin Towers. It's brushing with naughtiness. I agree. Right. Anything else, young man?
I don't see anything else in the papers. No. I didn't have a lot of time to look through. No, but I just thought the story about Prince Charles accepting money from the Bin Laden family just seems so
Yes, it is. As a matter of fact, I think it got much bigger play last week in some of the papers than it's got at the moment. Because we did so well in the football, all sorts of things have been shoved aside to accommodate that. Rightly or wrongly, it's difficult to say. But one thing we do know is that when the sports teams do extremely well, it lifts the spirits of the nation. So undoubtedly, that's what the that's what the.
Do you know when the footballers lose, domestic abuse goes up a huge amount?
Oh, really?
Yeah. So when like England lose the World Cup or the Euro Cup, spousal abuse goes up an incredibly high amount.
What about during the football season on a week-to-week basis?
I would assume that goes up as well.
Yeah.
But
wow, wow, gosh, interesting. We have people like that in our society. In fact, we were just discussing when we were going down to the precinct this morning because we were going to broadcast in the precinct, but the signals aren't good enough down there. We've got to investigate that. But one of the things that the people that does happen is that things of real issue. I mean, for instance, the Ukraine war it's going on a day-to-day basis, and yet you see very little reportage on it at the moment. Is when something happens, it may be quite inconsequential, but I'm not suggesting the football result with the ladies was inconsequential. Far from it. I understand how glorious it is, but the other things get shoved to the back of the list, and therefore they drop out of our conscious, and they really do. If something is held up in front of your nose and you pay attention to it, if it's tucked away in the back seat of the car, you don't. We play a very definite role in what is of interest to you or what's in front of your nose, and what's not.
Yeah. Well, those are those are the headlines this morning and the back pages of the Daily Mail.
Right. Okay. Now let's see what time it is. It is 11:05. We said that we were going to actually call it quits at 11 o'clock this morning. We've gone over 5 minutes, not that it matters, because there is no definite ending to this program until 11:30. But we normally determine if we've got somebody as a guest in our studio, which is the bar, then we keep on going. If we've got something of very great particular interest and we're debating it, we keep on going. But this morning, the main story is that the Lionesses brought home the bacon, as it were, that they won the Euro final in Wembley last night, 2-1 to the old enemy, Germany, and that has filled the newspapers and the news headlines this morning to the extent that anything else other than a Rishi Sunak promise to cut income tax by 4% has gone by the by. Anything that you feel that we've missed that you want to mention, young man?
No, I haven't seen anything particularly important. As you said, everything's been taken over by the football recently.
Well, there we are then. What we'll do is I will be back tomorrow, and you'll be back on Wednesday.
Wednesday with me and Stuart, and possibly a guest. I'm not sure.
Yes, right. Yes, I think you have got a guest on
Possibly.
on Wednesday, and that is when we devote much of the time, which is Max's show, but because we have Stuart in on that day, as we spend a fair amount of time on energy costs, the background to energy, because once again, apart from the fact that your bills come in and you have to pay them and they're higher than normal, much higher than normal, is we tend to lose sight of what's happening, and we don't continue to get the background to it. So that's what you'll be doing on Wednesday, giving us some background to energy. I tomorrow hopefully will have our wine expert.
We couldn't have him last week, unfortunately, because we had technical issues.
Yeah, once again, we a bit of technical issues. Hopefully, we should say that this is our last week on the air for 2 weeks. We are going to take a rest from the what is it, the 9th?
So our last day is the 5th. That's a Friday, but we will be back on the 22nd, which is a Monday.
Right.
And I'll be back that day as well.
So from the 7th to the 22nd, we won't be broadcasting. Doesn't mean that we've gone away. Far from it. We are here, and hopefully we are here to stay. The numbers that are sent to us from the various entities, such as YouTube and Facebook and so on, and also from Instagram and some of the other social media issues, show that we're growing, that we actually pick up some, we lose some, but we're picking up more than we're losing. So we're very happy that you like what we're doing, and we shall keep at it, and hopefully it won't be long before we're counting you in the thousands instead of the hundreds. Till tomorrow, it is Keith Hayes along with
Max Hurd, yeah.
Toodle Pip.
See ya. Bye.